Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have some amazing guests with me today. I have the crew from the Horror Babylon podcast. I have Ryan, Daniel, and Hef. Guys, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about the Horror of Babylon podcast.
You start. Yeah.
So we are a horror book club podcast. We release episodes twice a week, every Thursday and every Sunday. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, all the big stuff. Basically, the basic premise is that we read a book and then we review selected adaptations. Sometimes we're comprehensive with things that have a smaller number of adaptations. Sometimes with things that have a large number of adaptations, we'll just pick and choose. And then we move on to another book. And that's our Sunday episodes. And then Thursdays are bonus episodes where we will review movies, or sometimes we'll do comics. Some of them are sponsored by our patrons. So just kind of whatever we want to do or our patrons want us to do, that's what we do on Thursdays. And then we also do a Let's Play series on YouTube that Mr. Hef releases a new episode of that. Oh my God, that was loud! Every Wednesday.
Awesome.
That's pretty comprehensive.
I was about to ask, how do you guys go by selecting what movie or book you were going to read? But is it through your Patreon mostly?
It depends on a few things. Sometimes we try to be topical. Like we recently did a bunch of the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff because they had that movie coming out. We did Dracula leading up to The Last Voyage of the Demeter. We were trying to be topical with Salem's Lot, but the movie kept getting pushed back or just faded into obscurity. A lot of times we discuss, this is a book that I really like, I think would be fun to review. It just depends on a number of those things. We get a lot of suggestions too. I have one coworker who keeps suggesting the same book over and over again.
And over.
And over.
And over.
And over.
Now, does anyone ever suggest a bad book for you guys to review?
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually suggest bad books. Who suggested River of Teeth? That was you.
Yeah. No shame if you enjoyed River of Teeth, people in the audience, but
Yeah, we didn't like it.
We didn't like it.
I mean, bad movies alone are tough to watch. Like a bad movie, but there's nothing. And I'm a big reader. A bad book, it's almost impossible to complete.
Unless you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. Usually when you spend like 10 plus hours on a book that you didn't like, it's a little bit more devastating than 90 minutes to 2 hours of a movie you didn't like.
I think one of the worst parts is when you are almost done with the book and then you get to a point and you're just like, I just really don't want to finish this. You only have like 100 pages left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then your co-host makes you read the sequel, and then the sequel to the sequel.
That was funny.
And then the movie.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it's great.
Is there a book that you guys started and you're like, you know what, fuck this, I'm not finishing this damn book?
Almost.
There is one that I did not finish.
Was that the Mothman one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we read like Mothman to a Flame, which was a Mothman horror romance book.
Paranormal romance, is that the
Paranormal romance. Did you finish that?
I did finish that.
Okay, so me and him finished it. Ryan didn't.
I'm sorry.
He couldn't.
I tried.
We just learned that that brand of paranormal romance was just not really as appreciated by us.
Yeah, it really wasn't written for us in the first place, but
No.
I personally knew the author, and I was like, oh, this will be fun to do.
Yeah.
I was like, how weird could it possibly be? And I just realized I just don't read a lot of romance books, and I'm like,
page 37, it got weird real quick.
yeah.
Yeah, is it hard, because I interview a lot of horror authors. Is it hard that when a horror author recommends, hey, don't you guys review my book? Is it hard to bash his book, their book?
The Confederado.
We did one pretty early in the podcast where we had kind of sort of gotten to know the author on Twitter, and we said, oh, okay, sure, we'll do one of their books, and we did it, and it's extreme horror, and we kind of, similar to paranormal romance, we kind of figured out that extreme horror isn't exactly our cup of tea.
Yeah.
So we did a not favorable review of that book, and we got some bad feedback on that episode, and we have mostly tried to avoid situations like that, but
we generally like to be positive when we can.
yeah,
Sometimes we're sure something will be great, and then we read it or we watch it and it just isn't, and that just happens with media sometimes. But we usually go in with the intention to be positive.
And it's the same thing I do. You know, I interview a lot of authors and filmmakers, and I try to find a positive in everything. But at the same time, I cannot say, "Oh my goodness, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen," because my audience, my reputation when it comes to my audience, if they go and watch that movie as a piece of crap, like, they're not gonna believe anything I say at that point.
Yeah, we're usually not shy about being honest.
There's a difference between, like being honest and being like constantly negative.
Like we try not to bash things for the sake of it.
We try not to make people feel bad about enjoying the things they like. If there's something we don't like, we try to say, well, this is my perspective. I watched this movie at this point in my life. I like this genre as opposed to this genre. Try to give a reason. We don't try to just be, oh, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Yeah.
I try not to do that either. I try to find out the bright spots in the movie or the book, and I talk about that. That's what I try to stick with that. Now, is there I'm gonna ask each one separately. Is there a genre of books, horror books that you just don't like? So if that comes around, there's a great chance it's not gonna be your cup of tea.
You want to go first, or?
Well, we said extreme horror.
Yeah, extreme horror is my answer. I just
Yeah.
can't do it. I have a coworker who reads extreme horror regularly, and she keeps trying to get me to reread it. And I read like a paragraph, and it's just like, oh, and then she pulled the skin away from his penis, and it ripped off his dick, and I'm like, no, thank you. I'm gonna go stick with Pennywise.
Yeah, I tried a second extreme horror novel just on my own time after that, and it started with a serial killer who was trying to be like a Dahmer like copycat, and he abducted a 5-year-old from a kindergarten and put him in one of those boxes where magicians saw people in half, and then he sawed the child in half, and then
It's just a bit much for me and you.
had relations with the back half of the child. So it's just like, I like Stephen King, I like Dracula. Let's do that.
I didn't read those.
Genre, subgenre you don't like.
I mean, I think the paranormal romance adventure was quite the eye-opening. See, I've met people that like go into paranormal romances and they're real big on it. So I mean, I'd never read one. That was like the first one I read was the one we did for the podcast, and it just wasn't for me. There's nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't the genre where I was just like.
And it's like we said,
it just didn't vibe.
These things clearly have an audience. I have a coworker
Oh, yeah.
who reads the stuff that I don't like. So
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not against extreme horror. If you enjoy it, that's cool. As long as you're not modeling your life after it, then whatever.
I just don't want to review it on the podcast anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's how I like paranormal romance. It's just like it's just not for me. But we were having an interview with the author herself, so it was kind of one of those things where we wanted to kind of give her an honest review because she took the time to be like, please read this and tell me what you think. And I mean, that's, to me, it's I at least owe her finishing the book. I'm not just gonna be like dropping it halfway through. Like the other time I started it. Yeah. At least you have the idea of just like I'm not gonna even start it because I just know.
No, I started it.
Yeah. Did you start it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funnier now. But she was very sweet, and like we liked her a lot. So
Yeah.
I mean, if we show up, like, we'll pimp her book whenever we can. We're just like, if this is your thing, please read it. Give her support. It's awesome that you all, do this, because I couldn't do that.
Yeah, but it's good to, shine a spotlight on indie authors. I try to do that with my interviews. So, I go to a lot of horror conventions and I see them with their vendor tables, and they hardly get no traction. Most people are there to get autographs from Kiefer Sutherland or whatever. So, like, there's some great indie authors out there that need a spotlight shine on them, because most people wouldn't be able to find their book unless people like you and I, did what we did.
Yeah, totally agree.
We've been to those conventions too, where we went to one where there was a lot of authors and stuff like that, and we just had fun, like, going amongst them. It was just fun, just learning about the different stuff that they write about, because, like, some of them were just like concepts. I'm just like, I would have thought of that. That's just even the concept is interesting, and that gets you enough to read. And these are unknown authors, so I mean, it's a concept you've never heard of. It's a good chance that other people haven't heard of that either. So I mean, what does it hurt to, like, be like, hey, check these people out?
I totally agree. Now, I got a question for you guys about podcast YouTube. How hard is it to, in the year 2023, as a podcast, to get out there, find an audience, reach?
Very, very hard.
Extremely.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you guys do? Do you guys go to conventions and try to get outreach?
I'd say it's extremely hard. But I'd say it's extremely hard, but we've been lucky in a few categories. A bunch of my coworkers found my podcast, and now a bunch of them have been sharing it around. Hef told me a story about a guy I ran to at the gym who I guess listens to our podcast. So locally, we've gotten a little bit of traction, which I think is pretty cool.
I think the fact that we are in rural West Virginia and there are people that see other creators in rural West Virginia is kind of a big deal to them. So they kind of want to at least participate, even if it's just to listen a bit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm a YouTuber. I've been doing this for 7 months. And, like, I'm not saying it's a struggle, because because there's a lot of YouTubers who don't have as many subscribers as I do. And they've been doing it for years. But I mean, it's definitely takes work to do this. And someone who's new and thinking about doing it, it's just not going to happen instantly.
Yeah.
It's all about consistency, and you gotta love what you do or like it enough to do it every week.
Yeah, especially for free in the beginning. Yes. So, all right, guys. So let's talk about horror books. What are some of your favorite horror authors out there?
Do we all just usually yell King?
We are all pretty big Stephen King fans. I am also a fan of Koji Suzuki, who did Ring or Rango. I'm a big Clive Barker. There we go.
Woo!
Is that my service or your?
We haven't dropped out.
Okay.
Like our call hasn't dropped at all. So.
Okay.
We also like. We have only read one book so far, but we were big fans of Stephen Graham Jones.
Yeah.
And The Only Good Indians. I've read a couple things from Alma Katsu, and she's really great. I'm a fan of the very pulpy Keith C. Blackmore, of course, classics, Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, Rudyard Kipling. If we're diving into the world of manga and comics, got Junji Ito.
Oh, okay, sorry. Off podcast, one author I've been diving into is a gentleman named Ronald Malfi. It's he's like a lesser known one, I think, but he's got a lot of books. Like I think there's at least like 12 novels he's got that I know of. I've read 2 of them so far, and he's very like he's very new agey, but like it does kind of have that older horror style feel that someone like King would have done back in like his earlier Cujo days and things like that. So that's he's a pretty good one that I've been checking out recently.
I tend to like the first third or first half of Dean Koontz books.
I love Dean Koontz.
So I've come to the realization maybe I just don't like Dean Koontz.
Yeah.
I've read 5 Dean Koontz books, and I liked like 1.5 of them. Maybe I've read the wrong ones.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we started this podcast because I wanted to compare and contrast Phantoms and Stephen King's It. Was one of the pitches I had for this.
Yep. Which we have done.
Yeah. Which is one of my favorite episodes.
So what's the best horror movie from book translation? I mean, book to horror movie translation.
Like the best adaptation?
Adaptation, yes.
Probably The Exorcist.
The Exorcist is probably the best like 1-to-1 adaptation.
Pet Sematary is close.
And Pet Sematary, I think Pet Sematary definitely gets like the feel, the vibe that you get from the book. You feel it when you're watching the movie for the most part.
Yep.
Those would probably be the top 2 answers.
For me, yeah, I would agree with that.
And then
The Mist, I think it's not a direct translation, but I think it does like expand the stuff in the book that's really good.
To me, like I wouldn't call it a good adaptation just because of the ending, not because the ending changes on paper, but like the feelings you have when you finish the book are so radically different than the feelings you have when you finish the movie.
the first 90% of Ren Kazunban.
Yeah.
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 That was almost a straight adaptation of Koji Suzuki's book until it wasn't.
Yeah, until the incest.
Yeah, until they had it.
That I don't know. The Mist punched me in the stomach so hard. Like I think that's the biggest thing that I take away from it is very few movies will just smack you like that.
Yeah, but the question was like, what's the best adaptation of the book to the screen?
Oh, I thought he said what was your favorite versus that.
No,
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't listen, so that's why I do gaming on YouTube. I don't listen. I just do stuff.
What?
I'm shocked, especially talking about Dean Koontz, that they haven't tried to adapt more of his books into movies.
He's notoriously hard to work with.
Really?
Yeah, so he's the one who gets in the way of that.
Okay. I didn't
Unless
know
it's a Watchers movie,
Yeah.
then
Then you just let you do whatever you want.
yeah, just let you do whatever you want.
All right, so horror movies. I'm sure you guys are horror fans. It's a horror channel, so I'm gonna ask you guys 3 random horror questions. All right. So who's first?
Ryan.
All right, Ryan. F, Marry, Kill. All right.
Yay!
Final Girl. Okay, you got Laurie Strode. You got Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'm gonna give you Maxine from X.
What was the first name?
Laurie Strode from Halloween. Jamie
I've
Lee
never
Curtis.
seen Halloween.
He's never seen Halloween.
Is that Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't seen I've only seen Nightmare on Elm Street once, and I was like 12 or 13, so I don't know who Nancy is.
She's the main girl.
But I don't.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
remember. I remember Johnny Depp got pulled through his bed. And that's all I remember from that movie.
Yeah, it was Nancy's
Okay,
boyfriend.
I'm gonna give you some easy ones. Okay. All right, I'm gonna give you Sydney from Scream, which is
I've never
played by.
seen
He's never seen Scream. He doesn't watch a lot of slashers.
I'm not a big slasher.
I'm more of the slasher guy.
Why don't we try Daniel? You can come back to me.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna give you Laurie Strode, Sydney, and Maxine.
Okay. I'm going to. So it's fuck, marry, kill. I'm gonna fuck Maxine because I think she'd be a freak.
Yes, I agree.
Yep. All the movie, you know.
Yeah. I'm going to marry Nancy because I think she'd protect me. I guess I'll kill Laurie Strode.
You kill Laurie? Really?
Imagine somebody just hanging a horror movie with judo chops.
Austin Powers kills tons of people with judo chops.
All right, Hef, it's your turn.
Oh god.
Yay.
Laurie, Nancy, and Maxine.
Okay. I would marry Laurie because I saw True Lies and that's striptease. And I would who is the middle? Who's the other one? I heard Maxine. I can't remember the other one. Sorry. Nancy. I'd kill Nancy and then I'd probably fuck Maxine. Because
Dale's gonna come after you.
Dale.
My Nancy.
All right, guys. Which horror series that has multiple sequels that you wish they would stop making? They would just be like, okay, be done with it. Any more sequels?
Halloween. I would say Halloween. After the last trilogy, I'm done. They're talking about shopping the rights around right now. Other studios are trying to buy it. I'm just like, I don't care. I'm done with Halloween.
I say make them all because that's putting jobs out there. It's getting people working, and there's always going to be an audience for any movie franchise somewhere.
Saw.
I changed my answer. Saw.
If it would have been a month ago, I would have said Saw, but I Saw 10 was so good that I want more now.
It was excellent. I would have said the same thing about Saw, but Saw 10 was excellent.
Yeah. It might be the best one.
It might be the best.
I didn't expect the 10th entry in a franchise to maybe be the best.
See, now I would say Texas Chainsaw Massacre because those movies are bad.
Yeah. That's also true.
They're bad.
Saw had an interesting concept for as many as it had.
Yeah.
All right, final question. Okay. You got to fight any horror movie character, one-on-one. Iconic. Whose ass do you think you can kick? Who would you pick?
Gage. Pre-Orenco truck.
You know what's funny? Because I was going to go in a similar direction. I was going to say Chucky because I just drop kick him.
If you fight Chucky, I'll fight Slappy from Goosebumps.
Okay.
All right.
We'll do puppet battles.
And you can fight what's the guy on the tricycle?
Billy the Puppet.
Yeah, probably.
Now you can make your own answer. I'm sorry.
No, I can't. You can't fire out the gate with Gage and then expect any answer to be.
I mean, he's the most iconic horror character I can think of that I can guarantee I can win a fight with. That was a
But
question.
you answered it so quickly that it's just like
He was ready.
Right, go. Let's go like, right now.
Although I don't have a CDL license, so I'm not. Maybe I couldn't.
Buddy.
I thought I was the one who made dark jokes.
CDL stands for Child Dead Living.
Comically dark leanings.
Oh god, a horror. I don't know. I might have a chance to
Everything Gage. By the way,
I have a lot of dogs and dogs.
I'd say I would kill Gage. Just I could.
I know, it's just the best answer I've ever heard.
My backup answer was John Kramer from Saw because he's an 82-year-old cancer patient. Like, I couldn't survive his traps, but if I was just fighting him, I'd be like, yeah. You push him and he'd probably die.
Yeah, that's fair.
So is it worse for me to say Pearl? Is it worse to be like, I know I can kick a woman's ass, or is it worse to say I can kick a child's ass?
I think anybody that can see the spiritual realm quite like that is really somebody you don't want to fuck with. I mean, how many colors did we see in that movie? A lot. I've never seen that many colors.
I don't know, because I think Pearl would kick my ass.
He could curb kick Gage real good.
Tell you what, just pick up Gage and beat Pearl with him. And just scream pillow fight the whole time.
Actually, I'd probably just like dress him up as a scarecrow and throw him at her. Then I could just like run while she dry humps the shit out of him.
That's a fucking child.
I'm not the one doing it. It's Pearl. You know she's a deviant.
Okay.
Got a gator, man.
All right. So we learned a lot from this interview, guys. We learned that you guys will kick a child's ass if you have to.
Mm-hmm.
And that, yes, everybody. Now, actually, we should stop making Saw movies before Saw X. And I agree, Halloween should be done. I don't want to see another Halloween movie anytime soon. I really don't. And it's sad because I do movies, but that last trilogy killed it for me.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, where can everyone find you at?
We are on. You can search The Horror of Babylon on all the major socials. On Twitter, we're at horror. Page.
Okay, say that again.
You can search The Horror of Babylon on any major social site, except for Twitter. We are at HorrorPod69. We are The Horror of Babylon on Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads, and Slasher, and YouTube, of course. We're on all the major podcast apps. You can email us at the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. And you can also check out our Patreon and our Teespring store as well.
Awesome. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I would love to have you guys back on at any time.
Yeah, anytime.
Absolutely.
How about tomorrow?
Tomorrow's not happening. But
You keep catching me off guard, Dad.
listen, everyone, please check out the Horror Babylon podcast. It's a fun time. I'm a subscriber on YouTube as well, so I enjoy you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
And subscribe to the Horror Realms as well. Thank you, Mr. Bruce, for exposing all these horror creators.
Yes.
We are also subscribed to your YouTube.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm trying to do some good work. It's just a spotlight on people who are making great stuff that don't get the big names that Saw X and Michael Myers gets. So. But yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.